Welcome to Round the Table, and boy, folks, we are in a sorry state today. My name is Syzer. I am your host. I'm just getting over a cold, and I'd like to introduce my co-host, Jules, who is likewise afflicted with something else going on too.
Hi, hello, yeah, hi, I'm Jules, I'm the co-host today. I'm in the middle of moving. I somewhat crushed my hand, but it's all right. It's just a swelling, and I'm cooling it with this very useful bottle of Heinz tomato ketchup. So, pack it. So it's all good. Who's our wonderful guest here?
Yeah, please, Steffen, pardon me.
No worries. Hi, I'm Steffen. I'm a German content creator from the TTRPG scene, and I have no melody or otherwise thing I have to report, so I'm the only one totally fine today. It's just a little bit weird.
Yeah, we're happy to have you here, though. We've been trying, this one's been in the
Thank
works
you.
for a while, and we're happy to finally get it done. Kind of an outgrowth of the German gaming RPG scene thing that we did a while ago that Jules was also a part of. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Let's see what we got for you here today. I'll start with just a basic question. So there's this organization out there called Orkenspalter TV. You've done some stuff with them. Can you tell us who they are and what your involvement with them was?
Yes, of course. Unfortunately, Myri and Nico couldn't be here today, which are the two people behind Orkenspalter TV, which is like the German version. I would say in English it would be called Behead the Orc or something like that. So it's a little bit weird to translate, I would say.
Orc Slicer, maybe?
Orc Slicer, maybe something like that,
anyway,
yeah. And they are Germany's oldest, I would say, TTRPG content creator channel in the German YouTube sphere. I think, I don't know when they started, but it was somewhere around the start of the millennium, I think. And they are they mostly specialized in reviews for TTRPGs, mainly, of course, the Black Eye, which was the biggest thing in Germany for quite a while. And now they are like a streaming collective and YouTube collective, which I'm fortunately a part of, and very thankful for that.
Cool. So yeah, I didn't realize they went back that far, but that's great. You know, they're pretty big. I know that much. They seem to get a lot of traffic, a lot of subs, a lot of views. So thank you. It's very cool. But tell us about what projects you're involved with today.
Yeah, of course, I am part of Orkenspalter TV as in the Orkenspalter collective, I would say. So I'm not part of the main team, but I am a guest in some of their shows. I have my own TTRPG podcast called Tavernentresen. The English version would be At the Tavern Table or something like that, which is an actual play podcast. And I am also a semi-professional DM, as in author for German TV shows which contained actual play content for Rocketbeans TV.
Okay, and what's Rocketbeans TV exactly?
Rocketbeans TV is one of the biggest, I would say, media channels in Germany concerning everything about TTRPGs and gaming. And they are the most successful TTRPG channel in Germany, and they started even before Critical Role did.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
I would say they were the ones who brought TTRPG actual play content to the broader audience in Germany.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I personally can attest to that in some part, because it was a Rocketbeans game that kind of got me started as a DM. Not a DM back then, because a DM is a D&D term, and that was not a D&D game back then, either for me or for Rocketbeans, but yeah.
Okay.
It actually got me into both playing and GMing, in a way.
Gotcha. So it is a bit like Critical Role in that regard. That's cool because, I'm sure, as you probably both know, Critical Role, huge influence on the Anglosphere of the game, of the TTRPG Anglosphere. Would you say that Critical Role, like Matt Mercer, all those folks, have had an influence on the German scene too, or is it mostly has that been confined to like Rocketbeans and Orkenspalter?
I would say it's a mix. Correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
Jules, because I would say the German YouTube sphere and pen and paper tabletop sphere is like a little bit segmented into different segments. We have the OG, the Black Eye players who play the Black Eye since 1980.
I think the official English language name is the Dark Eye.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
the
it's,
Dark
it's
Eye.
probably
Yeah.
good because
Dark Eye.
Black Eye
Black
is,
Eye is,
yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, it's the Dark Eye. Yeah, sorry for that. Yeah, they are like playing this game for 30, 40, 50 years even, and they are very much focused on the game. Then we have the people who got socialized with like Rocketbeans and Orkenspalter TV, like me, and then we have like the somewhat newer people who were caught by Critical Role and the English-speaking content, I would say. So that's like different generations of German TTRPG players, I would say.
Okay.
I'd agree with that. It's in a way also a sense of like not just Critical Role, but like there is a big D&D scene in German AP at this point that is clearly like influenced by these American like shows that's existed, because D&D has like it's always existed in Germany, but it's historically not held as much of a spot as it does today, since there were so many other games as well. And I'd say like the modern German D&D scene is clearly inspired by things like Critical Role that's coming in very heavily. And I'd also say like German APs that are just like American indie systems also take a lot of inspiration from like the American scene. But I think like the scene of like German indie games, of like the more lower, like there's a lot of Savage Lands, there's a lot of like How to Be a Hero, things like that also takes a lot of inspiration from things like Rocketbeans again. Who also do a lot of like interesting one shots or like short campaigns in like weird and unique systems, and there's a lot taken from that. That's like outside the whole Dark Eye scene.
So I'm seeing that there's maybe not as much D&D dominance as there would be in the Anglosphere scenes.
Yeah, for sure.
And would you say that? How would you say DSA measures up to D&D as far as how many people are playing those games?
I would say it's difficult to say. I would say that the Dark Eye didn't get the success that D&D got in the last few years, because the newest edition of the Dark Eye is not very much loved by the old Dark Eye fans, and many play older editions of the game. And for newer players, the newest edition of D&D was much of a much easier way to get into the TTRPG scene. So I would say there is this old, not in a derogative way, but in a just completely normal way, the old Dark Eye fans, who are playing these games for years and for years and for years, but D&D gained much more momentum in the last years through things like Critical Role. So I would say they might be on par when it comes to players.
Okay. Now, but
I do not have any numbers or such thing.
No, I think I kind of agree with that. DSR kind of has like I feel like it has like a vibe, or like the stereotype of it these days is that it's a bit of an old head game. There's a lot of younger people also playing it, of course. And I know people, I personally had a play group that got into DSA with 5th edition, which is the current one. But like most people I know that are like religiously playing DSA are a little bit older and tend to still be playing 4th edition, like not the current one.
Gotcha.
And they are like not very much into D&D. They are always socialized like DSA is much more realistic than D&D, and I would not say they hate D&D, but they would not go near D&D. So there's like a hard border between these two fandoms, I would say.
Yeah, the games are delivering something very different, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say.
So not only do you have your own like DSA edition wars like we have for D&D in the Anglosphere, you also have these generational gaps between your new people who like Critical Role and want to play D&D. And have you heard the term grognard before?
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with it.
A grognard is like somebody in the English sphere who is like usually an older person like Gen X or a boomer who played D&D maybe through the Satanic Panic, and they really like the older editions, and they tend to be a little bit gatekeepy about letting new people into the hobby. So I'm not saying that aspect exists for the old DSA fans that you're thinking of, but that's kind of what you say when you say grognard. But it's interesting to see these things happening, because we're so used to the divisions that we've got in our own scene, our own kind of English language problems. So I guess it's nice to know that that's universal.
I do think it's interesting that it's kind of the same story. Yeah, just like with D&D Edition Wars as opposed to DSA versus D&D. Honestly, you get the same thing kind of in gaming too. You get like of all sorts. Like, oh, there's these new people, and now it's cool, but we were like the original ones, and we were there when it was difficult. Blah blah blah.
Well, I mean, that is always the case when a fandom or a hobby is like blown up with newer people, that the old people are kind of feeling threatened by the new people. And the German TTRPG scene blew up in the past 10 years, just like the D&D scene did. So I would think it's just the same problems they're having everywhere. Yeah,
probably so. But that's one of the interesting things about having these conversations. We can kind of see the universality, but also the little differences. So Steffen, how did you get started doing actual plays? Where was your entry point there?
Well, I started playing TTRPGs in, I would say, 9th grade, so when I was like 15 or something like that.
A common story.
A common story, yes. And of course, I started with The Dark Eye, like every German in my peer group, in my class. So I then, let me just thinking. Yeah, I followed Rocketbeans for a while. I, of course, saw their start in the actual play scene, and for me it was the first actual play I saw. And then I got the job at Rocketbeans like half a year later, and I think I started writing actual plays for Rocketbeans and doing actual plays for Rocketbeans like 7 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, and then started my own podcast, which is now 5 years old, I say. So yeah, around 5 to 6 years, I would say, is my career as a semi-professional DM. But I DM'd before that like my whole life and my whole youth. So it came natural to start writing APs for other things. Yes.
Cool. So, how many campaigns have you done on Tavernentresen? I'm probably messed up the pronunciation, but
it's totally fine. It's great. Thank you. So main campaigns, which were like a year each minimum, were like 4, and we are now in the 5th. At the start of the 5th campaign we are doing. Yeah. And they are all like a year long, so all are around 50 to 60 episodes each. And then we have a few shots and one shots in between. So we are, like for 5 or 6 years, we are streaming and podcasting like every week. So there are at least, I don't know the math, 250 episodes, 300 episodes of Tavernentresen. Yeah, which is kind of weird thinking about it, but yeah, something like that. And most of them I did.
Yep, your team is your group is a content machine. I tell you what.
Yeah, I mean we are like a friends group which played before that, and it's like a way easier thing to just start a live stream when you're already playing and hit a record button. It's not that difficult. We noticed. Yeah.
So yeah, if you're a Deutsch speaker and you're listening to this, check out Tavernentresen. What platform are you on, by the way?
We're on Twitch and every podcast platform you can imagine.
Cool. All right. So, are you running any home games like parallel to your AP projects, or just doing the APs?
Unfortunately, not. I just had the discussion with the Orkenspalter people about that we are both very, very sad that everything we are doing in the TTRPG scene must be recorded in some way and produced into content in some way. So I'm missing a little bit these times where you're just sitting together and have like a TTRPG round at the actual table. But on the other hand, I'm a little bit, I have much to do with work and doing the Tavernentresen and stuff. So I'm kind of okay with it that it's not even more, and then that this is fine. The amount of content I produce. So on one hand, I would like to have more private rounds, but on the other hand, we need to have a weekly schedule.
Yeah, I suppose you do. I mean, do you find it to be more a little more tiring or a little more mentally taxing to be doing the AP stuff than it would be at the home game? A little less relaxed, I guess, is what I would say. Yeah.
It's a little bit more pressure, I would say. I'm currently not doing the AP stuff for Rocketbeans anymore, which was kind of like much more work than it was like a free campaign, I would say, because it was much more like a TV production and not a home game, I would say. And the work for Tavernentresen is much more chilled because I know I can put my players into a tavern and they are doing like the whole episode and they have to do everything. And so it's much more relaxed. But of course, we try to have our schedule. We try to have every week an episode, even if one of us is maybe a little bit ill or we have not really prepared something. So there is kind of a little bit of pressure, but it's the way the fans and the people who are enjoying the content are talking with us and are telling stories about how they are receiving us and how they are at a family gathering and at the evening they are watching Tavernentresen or something like that. It's kind of warms my heart. So this keeps me going.
Good. That is good to get that.
I do think actually, like, if I can quickly, I do think it's really interesting this idea of like how an AP differs from a home game. Especially like I think like a stream game is a little bit less taxed by that than like a very heavily edited recorded game, for example. A Critical Role kind of stream thing is much closer, I think, to a home game, but it still brings different stakes and it still brings the element of like performing for an audience that you don't have at a normal AP table. Yeah,
totally. And I mean, the content we were producing at Rocketbeans was much more streamlined, I would say. It's much more like I Dimension 20 or something like that. So you have this fixed timetable, this fixed slots. You have like 3, 4, or 5 evenings, which around 3 or 4 hours, and you have to put the whole story into these evenings. And it's much more streamlined, but nevertheless, it's also role playing. It's also TTRPG content. There are people in the internet calling out that everything is scripted and it's like on railroads and something like that. But I would say it's another way of playing up TTRPGs, and it's much more streamlined, but it has to because it has to be a show.
Yeah.
It's also more the kind of scene that I'm in with my podcast, which like isn't as like it has to be this tight. We've had a storyline going on for like 70 episodes now, and that's like the one storyline we're doing on this one. But it's much more like edited for a podcast in the end, with like music edited in, with like special effects sometimes edited in and something like that, which is like ultimately much more has to be much more storytelling than a normal TTRPG has to be. There has to be like an action curve and stuff like that. There has to be like a certain tightness to the final edit, which feels very different.
It does. You know, you're putting together. You know, let's face it. Most TTRPG stories in the home game can be a little disjointed as far as the narrative goes. Yeah. They don't necessarily add up. It does not mean that a game is scripted if you have a little discussion beforehand about kind of where you want it to go. I mean,
Yeah, sure.
you can do that your home game too. Why not? So,
Yeah.
yeah. But
You can have a 3-hour shopping session in a normal home game. On a podcast that might grow a little boring.
Yeah. I would say so, or do that in downtime. You know, who cares? You know. So let's see here. We talked a bit about settings. What I guess I didn't ask. What system do you use for Tavernentresen?
Every system. So
Okay.
I mean, in my opinion, the strength of the TTRPG scene is it's very diverse. You have so many different rules and settings and interesting things you can try. And for me and for Tavernentresen, we are always like, we want to try and we want to show people different systems, from the big ones to the small ones. So we started as a classic D&D 5e podcast. We are now into another D&D 5e campaign, but we didn't have a D&D campaign for 5 years between that. We tried, or we started, or our group started with a big Call of Cthulhu campaign. We had very interesting sessions with a Broken Compass. Yeah, we're all over the place. We're trying everything that is coming to market, and we love the horror TTRPGs and the adventuring TTRPGs.
Oh, cool.
But we're trying everything from. I think we did one session of My Little Pony, which was another thing, a little bit wild, and yeah, I just want to show the people that there's so many different interesting games out there, and yeah, that's one of the reasons we started the podcast.
How crunchy are the rules for the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic system?
I think we were a little bit confused because there are two My Little Pony RPGs. One is pretty much D&D like, and we grabbed that, which was very crunchy. And then there's one which is much more like Powered by the Apocalypse or something like that. I don't really know.
Like spun out, and this one is spun out of Fate, I think.
Fate, I think. Yeah, really. Yes, Fate.
That's probably the other one.
But we played the D&D Crunch kind of system, which was a little bit much.
Okay.
I didn't even know about that, and now I have to look it up.
It's nice. Incredible. It's interesting. Yeah.
You know, I figured it would be a rules light setting, but that shows what I know as far as that goes. I guess I've never really seen the show, so maybe there's deeper lore than I realized. There probably is.
There is shocking amounts.
Yeah. We didn't know the show either, but our community voted for it, so we had to roll with it.
Great. That's amazing.
Hey, I can play anything once, you know.
Yeah, totally.
Why not? Yeah. So on the subject of English language APs, obviously you've heard of Critical Role and Dimension 20. Those are the big ones, right? But are there any that you listen to on the reg or have listened to in the past, in the English language ones?
Well, I think Not Another D&D Podcast was the podcast which drove me to the idea of having a podcast myself.
Yeah.
So shout out to them. I think they are very very big in the English-speaking podcast sphere as well. But I do not have much time around that to enjoy content like that. I would say I sometimes look other streams or podcasts up when I want to get to know some systems I like to try. But I do not stay with them for long. I just check out the systems and the rules and be on my way. I think the only one I'm consuming regularly today is Dimension 20.
Okay. Well, and what are they doing? I guess I'm not a Dim 20 fan, as I said, but have they got a new DM now that Brennan Lee Mulligan's headed over to Critical Role? Do you know?
Oh no, it's still Brennan. I don't know how he does it. Yeah, he does both. I think for me, coming from German TV, it's much more interesting to see how they are doing these big productions of like the TTRPG stories. So this is why I'm watching them and not much like Critical Role, but it's same.
Okay. Well, cool. I don't. It's hard to keep up with like a lot of different APs for sure because that's
Yeah,
a lot
yeah,
big time commitment. Whenever I have someone, whenever I do an AP episode for this podcast, I try to listen to like an episode of anybody who's coming on because how am I going to catch up on 50 hours of content per person who happens
Yeah,
to be
no,
coming on
for
the
yeah.
show?
sure.
It's not
Yeah,
And
possible.
it's
No.
it's also like so unfortunate because like when you're in the AP scene, you have so many people around you who produce their own,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like I really want to just like I want to see all your stuff the same way I
yeah.
would wish for people to see my stuff. I want to see your
yeah,
stuff, but there's like a limit to how much you can consume in a day.
yeah,
By
It's
totally.
rough.
by default it's long form content, right? So it's not like
Yeah.
something that you can just sort of swim in. You can't catch an episode here and there. It's hard to
Yeah.
do.
It's a bit like having your own campaigns. Like there's a limit to
Yeah,
how many you can do. No matter how
Yeah,
much time you invest in it, there's just you have a job, you have other stuff to do.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
yeah.
rough. So okay, so Stefan, where if you've seen the analytics, and I bet you probably have, where do you know where your listeners are at in the world? Are they mostly in Europe? Do you have a few pockets here and elsewhere? I'm just kind of curious where the audience is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what are the interesting
So
pockets?
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, we are a German-speaking podcast, so 90% of the people are coming from German-speaking countries like Germany, Austria, and Switzerland.
yeah,
So no surprises there. I think we have a few fans like in East Asia, which
hmm.
are exiled Germans living there,
Yeah,
or
Okay,
people
expats
on
or something.
vacation or
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, that's everything, and that's all. So yeah, it's like the language barrier is like really hard for us, but
oh yeah,
it's okay.
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, at the same time, you kind of get to be a big fish in a small pond, maybe. So
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
filling a niche that people need there. So
Yeah.
so so maybe you can both answer this one. So how much in the does the EU regulate obscenity in like broadcast stuff, whether it's on YouTube or Spotify? Do you have to watch what you say for your audience or for the censors or for whoever when you put out content?
I can give a pretty quick one to that on my end. I produce English language content, so
Right. Yeah.
ultimately, I'm kind of stuck in the same hole as English language content is, where like I assume most people just don't care. Like, if you have your account listed to, I can listen to explicit stuff, you can listen to the explicit stuff.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
least
Yeah.
like in the podcast sphere, English language, you get the same sort of
Yeah.
results.
I would say we as a German-speaking podcast are much more regulated by the English platforms like Spotify, YouTube, Twitch, and Co. And not
Okay.
from the EU because they don't care. We have like specific I'm missing the English word here. Specific parts of the German state which are responsible for looking at media, looking at like mostly TV, and see if it's like good for youth and for kids and something like that.
Like
And they are
broadcast regulators kind of a thing.
yeah, a little bit
Yeah.
like that, broadcast regulators, yeah. But they are not getting really into the streaming and
Yeah.
Twitch sphere. I would say they are only looking at the big people in the Twitch sphere and not really into like small podcasters and Twitch streamers. And I would say the German media is much more open with like things like profanities and something like that. If you're not openly racist, it's mostly fine.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's also like I feel like the government agencies we have here are more like concerned with the platform as
Yeah.
well, like than with the individuals on the platform, and like that's
Okay.
what the platform is allowed to do and things like that.
God. Just that they let the platforms police themselves essentially.
No,
what I
no,
heard.
not necessarily
Not
this, but
necessarily?
like
Okay.
they regulate what the platform does on a platform level, not on an individual user level.
Right. Okay.
Like they
Okay.
they put up an issue with Facebook, not an issue with Facebook user XYZ.
Right.
And the same sort
Yeah.
of thing goes on with like Spotify, YouTube, and all of that. They impose the
Okay.
regulations on the platform, not the user.
Okay, no, that's I think that's a better way to do it, honestly. We have our issues with free speech in the U.S. right now, so I'm sure you've heard about the whole Jimmy Kimmel thing, right? So
Yeah.
Here's the question: Had you ever heard of Jimmy Kimmel before he was taken off the air?
Heard, yes, but I never watched anything
Yeah.
of his show, I would say.
I've seen individual clips. I think they come up
Yeah,
on
maybe.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Like I've definitely seen Colbert before that whole thing happened. Just like an interview with someone. He's a Lord of the Rings nerd. I know this much, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just curious how we're very good at cultural imperialism here in the U.S. So I'm kind of often curious how well our stuff has penetrated other markets. So anyway,
Immensely. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, of
not
course.
necessarily Jimmy Kimmel personally.
Yeah.
No.
Jimmy Kimmel, he is a mediocre comedian who I was full steam ahead to getting back on the air. First time. Never thought I would ever post hashtag I stand with Jimmy, but I did this time.
There are worse Jimmys to stand with, I suppose.
Yeah, totally.
For sure.
I would say I'm much more a fan of John Oliver. He just had a segment about Bernd das Brot.
Yeah, I saw that. That was
very
incredible.
Interesting. German
immensely
kids
disappointed.
thing.
Immensely disappointed he didn't bring on Brigadier Bush and Chili Staff. Time has forgotten their heroes. Amazing supporting cast. Bernd das Brot, incredible.
Cool. I haven't seen that one, but
it was so weird to hear him speak English. Just real quick. I never thought I'd hear Bernd das Brot speak English. Continue.
Cool. Oh no, we're good. Let's see. Jules, do you have any questions that you wanted to ask? I haven't actually thrown it over to you yet. Anything in particular?
I think we are essentially. We talked about it in advance. We're kind of in agreement on our questions. We had a lot of similar ones.
We did.
Is there anything specifically that I can think of right now?
All right. Let me move on to.
Continue on. I'll try to get back to you.
Cool. So Steffen, can you tell us about a moment or maybe two in a podcast or project you've been involved in that you're really proud of?
Well, I'm mostly proud of my work with Rocketbeans, I would say, because if you are working with a big television style production team, you have so much possibilities. You have a great set. You have people to think about things like which part of the table will be shown and something like that. And I would say there are two special broadcasts I was very proud of. One was with German public TV. We had a cooperation with them and produced for them a series of different TTRPG shows which are focused on historic and political themes. So much like through TTRPGs to get to know political or historic stuff.
Okay.
And one was called Die Grenada-Krise, the Grenada Crisis, which which wanted to show the people who are watching this show how dangerous or how difficult social media can be. And for that, we had different Twitter hashtags and had like a simulation of the social media pages of this fictitious country called Grenada, which was like a little like Monaco and something like that.
Okay.
And I gave the audience the target to emulate how it is to be a person in this fictitious country who was using Twitter for tweeting things about a story which was presented. And the people who were playing this story were a media team, a news team, which had to report on an incident with the king of the country. And they had to look into social media, have to find which kind of information were wrong and which kind of information were right. And the people at home could play as a citizen of Grenada and just tweet away stuff like totally bullshit crap or things like really information that I gave them. And that was quite successful for me, because the biggest fear I had was that what if nobody gets this and nobody plays with us? But I think in Germany at this evening, we were the top one hashtag with hashtag Grenada. And we're even before the local finale of a German football cup, and that was one of my greatest successes, I would say,
That's
to have
that is
such
awesome.
a weird thing, and people were at Twitter and were writing, "What the fuck is #Grenada?" and something like that, and it's really entertaining. You can watch it, but it's not. I would say it's not that entertaining if you're watching it. You had to be there, something like that.
Right. Yeah.
And this was
yeah.
quite incredible. Yeah, and quite interesting. Yeah.
That's awesome. Now.
Yeah, I will say on a personal level, my playgroup was really into these historicals, these like historical.
They're
games.
really
They talked
interesting.
about them a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
know we
think,
played one of them. We played one of the scenarios once.
I see.
It was like about the end of the 30-year war, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what it's called, but yeah, there was one from them, and I think the good people from Orkenspalter TV are also cooperating with German public TV, which is really interesting to have someone like German public TV, which is always very conservative and very not interested in new things, and they were picking up these TTRPGs actual plays, which is super weird. But it was very nice, and the people from Orkenspalter are having a cooperation with the people who are making the Tatort. The Tatort is the prime German crime TV show, like for 40 years or something like that. It's really crazy, and they are having a cooperation and have a actual play in this Tatort sphere, which is
so fun.
very interesting. Yeah,
yeah,
that's great.
No, I love that. I have a question though. What you said is public TV, right? So that would mean government funded.
Yes.
What does that look like in Germany? Because we're having problems with that over here now too. But what
it's very difficult.
Yeah,
it's complicated.
Yeah.
It's very complicated. So we have the different states in Germany, just like in the US, and we have different public TV stations which are placed around the country. So you have one for Northern Germany, one for Western Germany, one for Southern Germany, and one for Eastern Germany. And they are like getting their own funds. They're having their own plans. They have some of the shows are on every channel, and some of the shows are only produced from these particular institutions. And so if you are talking to like the NDR, which is like the North German station, you can be sure that they are not sharing any information with the Southern German stations.
Okay.
And it's like a very weird situation. But they do have funds for especially content for younger people, for kids, and then of course for teens and for young adults. And we as Rocketbeans received funds from this specific place, I would say, for these young adult audiences. And they arrange production firms and say what kind of content they want. They also are very invested nowadays in things like podcasts, Instagram channels, and TikTok channels with which is kind of, I don't know. But they are having funds. Yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And yeah, they have funds for specific kind of target groups. But if we are totally honest, the biggest target group for the public German TV stations are the people 60 plus. So it's like
also like if you think of like
TV,
if you think of something like TV shows and something of the like, I think like if you would think of like every German, I think it's more news footage. Like news is definitely something that everyone kind of goes to the public ones for, like Tagesschau, something along those lines. But I would say like in the sense of like entertainment TV that you can see on television, it definitely swings much older. Like if you compare it to something like the BBC, for example, in Great Britain, that is much more like defining of TV culture in general in the UK than German public access television.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. It sounds there are definitely some similarities, probably a few differences there. But in the U.S., public broadcasting, as you probably know, has been way defunded, and even to the point where Sesame Street got kicked out. Have you heard of Sesame Street?
We have.
Yeah,
Sesame
of course, we have.
As a German Sesame Street. We got our own version, with like partially original footage from the American one, partially our own footage. But yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And it had been an institution for certainly since I was a kid. In the 80s, going into probably whenever it started, going into throughout my entire life, and now Sesame Street doesn't have enough money, so they have to go on Netflix. So it's not a great situation.
We have this discussion now in Germany because the German public TV stations are funded with a tax, essentially. It's not really called a tax, but it functions like a tax. Everybody has to pay a certain amount, and it goes to the broadcasting stations. And every time when there is the tax gets higher, everybody is talking about, why are they not producing much more content for me? Why do I have to pay this if I'm not even looking at this content? And I say the German public TV stations are very valuable because they are, as Jules already told, very flexible. They are very credible in their news, which is very interesting and very necessary in kinds of days like that. So I value the German public radio and TV stations. I'm not looking very much, but I like to know it's there.
It's great to have a news source that isn't profit driven. That is immensely valuable. I do think potentially some of that money could be spent slightly differently, but I think on the news end, it is incredible to have it, and I wouldn't want to give it up.
Gotcha.
Yep, definitely.
Okay. Well, once again, we come to the universality of problems that we have here in the Western world.
Yeah. There's a saying that I've heard a lot back in university, which is essentially, if it happens in the US, it happens everywhere else 5 years later. That is very much we tend to have the same problems.
All right. Well, I hope that we spare you, Trump 2.0, but let's we'll see how it goes. I keep my eye on German news too, so I know about the AfD. So
it's a whole.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
Very different political system, but similar issues everywhere.
This isn't an apolitical podcast, but we don't necessarily need to get into all that. All right, let's move on to my last question for you, Steffen. Unless Jules, you had something that you wanted to ask.
I am blanking.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's okay.
I had a question earlier. I was like, man, I really want to ask that question, and then the moment passed, and it was gone from my mind.
Well, we'll give you and your hand a pass today because that's.
Thank you.
That'll be just fine. So, okay, Steffen, if you could do any project in the actual play space, sky's the limit. You've got all the budget you want, all the people you want. What would that project be?
Oh, that's very difficult. I would say it would be like a live show with audience, with crazy lighting and fire effects.
Cool. Yes, stage. Make it a stage show. Do it like a live production of Harmon Quest or Critical Role or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I looked at the Dimension 20 tour and I was really envious of the people because we had live shows. Yeah, totally. We had live shows in Germany, and I was into live shows, but as a German content creator, it's not that easy to have just a really big space like the Madison Square Garden full of people cheering you on. So what kind of envious.
Well, fair enough. Thank you for being here today, Steffen. Jules, thank you for hosting with me.
Thank you for having me.
Here, is there anything that you would like to leave the audience with today?
I would like, just as I said before, try every RPG you see. If I can give one little tip, one very interesting indie RPG, it's called Pasión de las Pasiones. which is like Spanish for Temptations of the Temptations.
Okay.
It's you're playing a Spanish telenovela, which is very entertaining. So look it up, Pasión de las Pasiones. It's great. And it's available in English.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love the name
I'm
too.
immediately writing that down.
Okay. Well, this has been another episode of Round the Table. I have been your host, Syzer, and my co-host, Jules. This has been Steffen from Tavernentresen and Orkenspalter TV. Thank you very much both for being here. Next time we see you, well, hopefully Jules and I will be in better shape. Until then, you have a great day and keep on gaming. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.